It's now my pleasure to introduce a former MMWD board member who today represents us in Sacramento and has really become a leader in water policy and conservation work statewide and possibly beyond. Please welcome California Assemblymember Jared Huffman.
This is a special treat for me to be here. I raced back from Sacramento, and every time I do that I think of Carol Migden, but I made it in one piece, and it's pretty special to be here to celebrate the 100th birthday, if you will, of an agency that means a lot to me. To put that in context, I have spent a quarter of my life as a director of the Marin Municipal Water District. That's a pretty big deal. My daughter's not even 12 years old yet, and I spent 12 years on the board here at this agency. So it's really important to me, a special institution. It's even more important to this county. And I am struck with that sense of history and importance as I just look around this room here. It goes back so many years, and it means so much to this place. I see in this room, Tom Cronin, and I know what Tom's whole family has done to contribute to this district and what it stands for, and Marty Griffin here, who along with his colleagues had this crazy idea that if you don't have water, you shouldn't serve new connections. And I think at least one major court case came out of that. Marin Municipal has had kind of an outsized role in California water law, in addition to making new law in the area of moratoriums and service requirements in drought situations. One of the first cases that California water lawyers learned about is a case, I believe, called Joslin versus the Marin Municipal Water District, that involved whether urban water use took a higher priority than gravel mining on Nicasio Creek. And it established a very important precedent in California water law that reasonable and beneficial use evolves over time, and that urban water use is the highest and best use of water under California water law. MMWD was the agency that created that precedent. And there is just so much history and purpose, starting with the whole idea that maybe there ought to be something called a municipal water district. And maybe there ought to be a statute that allows that to happen, and maybe we should be the first one. Talk about vision, Jack. I mean, people at that time thinking about, if we don't municipalize and create this district, we're going to be at the mercy of corporations. This is way before Citizens United, right? Our forebears here at MMWD had the vision to know that the tender mercies of corporations might not be where we want to be when it comes to something so publicly vital as our water supply. The history and the rich heritage of the stewardship and land conservation and preservation here at the Water District. And just in the small piece of that history that I got to be part of, the fact that we did something truly historic on Lagunitas Creek, that we actually made peace with state regulators, gave up 15% of our water supply, but did it in a way that has created a model coho salmon restoration process. I am just so thrilled to have been a small part of the rich history. I see Ron Thyssen here, and I hope Ron has forgiven me by now. They used to have a patch on the Rangers' arms that had a big dam, and this wild environmentalist got elected to the board and demanded that it be replaced with an osprey with a fish in its talons. And that was me. I did that, and Ron was gracious enough to go along with it. I hope the patch has worked out over time. But even today, I see this district continuing to pioneer. We know what a pioneer it's been in water conservation, water recycling, and right now just trying to manage for the future, continuing to push the envelope on conservation and good sustainable water management while also having some plans in place for the future. I am very proud to have been a part of this district for 12 years, and I want to now recognize on behalf of the state legislature the 100th birthday of the Marin Municipal Water District with this resolution.
Thank you, Jared. That's good. So, find my notes here. Oh. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. You lost my spot. I'm pleased to introduce Steve Kinsey, President of the Board of Supervisors, Marin County.
Well, thank you. On behalf of our board, I do want to congratulate and acknowledge current and former board members and staff of MMWD, for a remarkable achievement to manage this district as successfully as you have over these decades. If we step back and think about it, really water is such an essential ingredient to life. It inspires poetry and other spiritual thoughts. There is a real deep reason why we should be so thankful to have this 100-year history. And in fact, if you stop and really think about it, in spite of the terrible proposals we've seen in this county for freeways all the way to the Point Reyes Lighthouse or Marincello, perhaps the single most important land use decision that was made in our county's history was to create a municipal water district, perhaps the best decision in 100 years. And certainly William Kent should forever be remembered as the gracious, inspiring person who really triggered a full century of passionate caring about this place we live in and so many wonderful deeds that have preserved it. So for me, it's a special honor to be here. I live in my normal life out in the San Geronimo Valley, and interestingly, right about the half-century mark is when the San Geronimo Valley gave up its 21 springs and a private water supply to join the Marin Municipal Water District. And, for those of us who've lived here quite a while, it's hard to imagine, actually, without this water district, what we would have been going through. So that's pretty impressive. The other point of contact I have outside of my responsibilities as a member of the Board of Supervisors came about in the late 80s and the early 90s when we were in the midst of a drought that appeared to be headed towards another 1976, 1977. And in the anxiety and concerns that were raised by a drought, there was an effort to put forward a significant expansion of the water supply using a heavily engineering-oriented approach and a substantial amount of debt financing to go with it. And a number of us had to stand up in the middle of that drought and say, that's not the right direction to go. And by just a few percentage points, we prevailed and Measure W failed. But there's a better part of this story. Board member Chris Morrison at that time, within just a couple days, called me up and said, we need a water supply, and I say we absolutely do. And with help from Dietz Stroh and a number of others, the Water District put together an advisory committee, and within 1 year, we had put together a strategy that was successful as Measure V. It was a conservation-first strategy. It was significantly less debt financing, much more pay-as-you-go, and that service continues to be an important part of the strategy for MMWD today. I think that the real message here is that working together, we can do so much more than we can do by trying to push forward ideas on our own. And I think that's probably a good lesson for all of us to learn. And in fact, working together is really the main reason I'm here, because the Marin County Board of Supervisors and the County of Marin does have a significant working relationship with MMWD, and we've appreciated the collaboration and partnership over many years. Not only do you provide us with our water supply, but we manage fire fuel load reduction programs together. We pursue the biodiversity of the environment together. We have worked, as Jared Huffman mentioned, together in a fishery restoration program. We are partners in trails and recreation opportunities in the watershed and open space lands. We both are strongly and actively involved in conservation. Emergency communications we share through our emergency radio system, MIRA, and we both have very vigorous programs to respond to climate change. So for all of those reasons, we really are appreciative of this partnership. We want to recognize you on this 100th year. Given that the state went through serious budget problems last year and realigned services and sent many services back to the county, we've skipped the beautiful frame, but we do have a resolution to present. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And now from one of our colleagues in the water business, I'm pleased to introduce the Executive Director of the Association of California Water Agencies, that MMWD is a proud member of, Tim Quinn.
We're hearing force.
We're hearing force.
Vice President John Coleman will speak.
Thank you, Tim. On behalf of the Association of California Water Agencies, ACWA, it's indeed a pleasure to be here today to celebrate with you your 100th anniversary. MMWD has been the leader on so many important issues that have been taken up within the water community here in California. We may not always agree, but you're on the forefront and actually you've helped lead us, including working with Assemblymember Huffman, to get in the direction that we need to be moving for the future. 2 years ago, we had our 100th anniversary at ACWA, and Paul Kelly, who was the past president, was the president of ACWA at that point. So we can understand and we appreciate what you're going through. Cynthia, your board president, is an active member of ACWA on our Federal Affairs Committee, and we appreciate all her efforts and services. The water community in California, for its future, is going to need to work together from a regional perspective and from a standpoint of trying to find solutions to the problems that we're all going to face. We're here in support of what MMWD is doing and are so grateful for all their efforts in helping lead those directions. We have a resolution, Cynthia, for you. We haven't been cut back by like the county was, yeah.